a kind of more dynamic series of movements. So just to start with, we're going to come down onto the mat. We're going to take the soles of our feet, place them flat, bending the knees up to about 45 degrees, and then just relax ourselves all the way down so we're lying flat on the mat. Get yourself nice and comfortable because we're going to be down here for a little while. First thing we're going to do is just lift the knees up to 90 degrees, just point the toes up towards the ceiling as if they're in contact with the floor. And then we're just going to take our hands and we're going to place them just on the front of the tops of our thighs, so they're just next to the knees. And in this position here, we're just going to push the knees in towards the palms of our hands, whilst pushing away as well. So we're just going to get a really strong contraction through the core, but also into the shoulders. Relax the head down onto the mat, and we're just going to hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then just relax the legs, drop the feet down onto the floor, and just take the knees back to that 45-degree angle. So we should feel that activation through the core there. So that's the front side of the body activated. We're now going to work into the posterior. So we're going to place palms of the hands flat on the floor there, take the weight into the soles of the feet, and then just lift the hips up to find our hip bridge. And we're just going to pause here for about 10 or so breaths, just working in through the nose and out through the mouth. Getting that breath going at the same time, squeezing the glutes, squeezing the lower back, trying to lift the hips up towards the ceiling, but still working through that breath in this position. And just relax the hips down onto the floor. We're going to lift the feet back up again, find that 90-degree pose, taking both palms of the hands back onto the inside front of the thighs, and just try and squeeze a little bit harder this time. So we're pushing the hands whilst pushing the knees in, holding for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1, and relax the feet down onto the floor. So you should get that shaking sensation very quickly as we're basically firing all the way through those muscles. So place the palms face down onto the floor. Inhale to lift the hips, driving through the heels into the mat, and just squeeze at the top there till we find our hip bridge. Hold in again with a few deep breaths, really active in this position, really squeezing the glutes together, working for a little bit longer. For 3, for 2, 1, and then relax the hips back down to the floor. Final cycle through this. So again, inhaling to lift the knees up to 90 degrees, take the palms of the hands onto the front of the thighs, and really squeeze this position here. So we're pushing through the palms, driving the knees up towards me, holding for 5, for 4, 3, for 2, for 1, and relax there. Release the feet back down, take the palms of the hands flat on the back, inhale to lift the hips. And if you feel good in this position, we can just extend the right leg out, point the toes. Hold in here for 3, for 2, for 1. Release the right foot down. Inhale to lift the left leg. My cat's just coming from the storm. He didn't like it. Hold in for 3, for 2, for 1. And release your left foot down. Relax there. Okay, just take the soles of the feet in together and just let the knees hang out to the side, getting a bit of a stretch through the groin, and just hold here for a few breaths, allowing those knees to tip down as much as you need to, just relaxing while you're lying there. Scamp, you're right, mate. Very well, cat. Okay, bring the knees in together, tuck the knees up into the chest, and just start getting that gentle rocking motion up towards a seated position. Take your time to get up here, and then just tip yourself forward all the way up into our seated pose. So from here, we're just going to do a few very simple stretches while we're sat down. So take the feet to cross-legged, and we're just going to inhale the right hand up above the head, exhale, take it down onto the left knee, place the left hand behind the back, inhale, lift the chest, take the gaze over the right shoulder, just twisting through the lower back, holding here for just 3 deep breaths. And relax the shoulders back down. Inhale the left hand up towards the ceiling. Exhale, the left hand comes down onto the right knee. Place the right hand firmly behind you. Inhale, lift the chest. And exhale, take the gaze over the left shoulder, stretching down the opposite side of the body. And again, we're just going to be here for 3 deep breaths. Inhaling to lift the chest. Exhale, just take that gaze a little bit further onto that left-hand side. Inhaling one more time. And then exhale, release your hands. Give the shoulders a little bit of a roll forwards. Give them a little bit of a roll back. You're absolutely fine. You're just wet. That's all it is, mate. Just rain. Okay, don't shake yourself out. Horrible. Right, in your own time, take your feet underneath you, lift yourself up, come up to standing, and then find a bit of space up towards the front of your mat. We're going to go through our normal forward fold drill. So taking our feet roughly shoulder width apart, just inhale the hands up towards the ceiling, a little bit of a stretch at the top, and exhale, release the hands down, tuck the chin, and roll all the way down until we find the bottom of our mat. Let our head hang nice and heavy. Hopefully you don't have a wet cat at the bottom of your mat at the moment. And then inhale yourself all the way back up to standing again. Inhale the hands up nice and high, stretching at the top. Exhale, release the hands all the way down, roll down the body. Feel that stretch as we come down onto the mat. Head hangs a little bit further down this time. And we inhale all the way back up to standing. So this time we're going to inhale the hands up, come up onto your tiptoes, full extension at the top there. And exhale, come down onto the heels, release the hands down the front of the body, rolling all the way back down onto the mat. And inhale all the way back up to standing. Inhale up onto the toes, extend up towards the ceiling, pause at the top here, stretching those fingers up a little bit higher than last time. And exhale, release the heels onto the mat, tuck the chin, roll yourself all the way back down onto the mat. And we're just going to stay down here for a little bit longer this time. So really let the head hang heavy, looking back between your legs, and just let gravity get that stretch a little bit further. And then inhale all the way back up to standing. So we're going to inhale again this time, come up onto the toes, extend that stretch. We're going to hold here for 3, for 2, for 1. Release the heels down onto the floor. Exhale, tuck the chin, come all the way down into our forward fold. When our fingertips have reached down as far as they're going to, we're just going to inhale to come up to our halfway lift. So our halfway lift, we want to put our shoulder blades back. We want to find that flat back position as if we were going to perform a really powerful deadlift. And then we're just going to exhale to release ourselves all the way back down onto the mat. Toes, fingertips just touching on the mat. And then inhale, lift yourself back up onto half lift. Pull your shoulder blades back. Find that flat back position. And exhale to come all the way back down onto the mat. Final one of these. Inhaling up to find our half lift. And exhale, release all the way down into our forward fold. And then inhale, come all the way back up to standing. So we're going to start working into our sun salutation positions. So I'm just going to get out of the way when this happens. So take yourself to the front of your mat, feet shoulder width apart. Inhale, lift the hands up towards the ceiling, take a little bit of a back bend, and exhale, release the hands all the way down into our forward fold. And then just step the feet back to find our high plank. And exhale, lower for chaturanga, down onto the mat. So we should be flat on the floor here, lying all the way down. Adjust the hands so your palms are flat on the floor. We want them directly underneath the front of your shoulders. And we're just going to inhale to drive our arms out straight, lifting our gaze up towards the ceiling and find our up dog. Try and drop the shoulders down the back rather than allowing them to crunch up near the ears. And just take that gaze nice and high. And then when you're happy there, we're just going to send our hips back onto our knees, pushing back into our child's pose. Have a little bit of a stretch here. Take the hands out as far in front as you usually feel able to. Sit back onto your heels as much as possible. And then just tuck the toes, lift the hips, push yourself up to find our downward facing dog. So in our downward facing dog, we're going to walk our heels into the mat as much as we can. Anyway. And just keep working those heels in, feeling that stretch, going all the way through the calves into the Achilles. And then just take the gaze to the front of the room as you just walk your feet all the way up towards your hands, and we're back in our forward fold. Okay, from forward fold, we're going to inhale all the way back up to standing. Take the shoulders back, find a really strong neutral position. Inhale, hands up towards the ceiling. Exhale, hands come all the way down onto the mat. And then inhale to just step back to our high plank. Exhale, lower for chaturanga. Inhale, press up to find our up dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, push back as we find our downward facing dog. And again, we're going to stay here for a few deep breaths. Just walking the heels into the mat as much as you feel comfortable, hopefully finding a little bit more space. Maybe while a cat taps your face as you're doing that. Whatever's going on in your room at the moment. Hey mate, I know, you're a real nuisance. Okay, find a little bit of still. Take your gaze towards the front of the mat again, and walk your feet all the way back up as far as you can. You've got to move. Okay, back into our forward fold. Inhale all the way back up to standing. Right, we're going to add a little bit more intensity into these. Inhale the hands all the way up, take a little bit of the back bend. Exhale, release the hands, come all the way down into forward fold. Now inhale yourself back up to half lift, and then exhale to sit down onto the heels as we find our chair pose. So our chair pose, we should have our chest about 45 degrees, bending the knees as much as we need to allow ourselves to just be hovering a little bit higher than our full squat position. We should be really active in the quads, really active in the glutes, and as I'm talking, you should be thinking, this is starting to burn. Exhale, straighten the legs, take the hands back down onto the mat, and now we can step or jump back, depending on how comfortable we are, into our high plank. Exhale, lower for chaturanga. Inhale, lift up to find up dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, push back as we find our downward facing dog. 3 deep breaths in downward facing dog. We're going in through the nose and out through the mouth, really releasing that breath in this position. 2 more deep breaths in your own time. Take your gaze towards the front of the room as we step or jump all the way forward, back into our forward fold. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Inhale, hands come up above the head, slight back bend. Exhale, release the hands all the way down into our forward fold. Inhale, lift to find half lift. Exhale, send the hips back and down as we sit down into our chair pose. So it's up to you where you put your hands here. If you want to bring them slightly forward into our kind of prayer position, that's fine, or just let them hang to the side. We're going to be holding here for just 3, for 2, for 1. Exhale to extend the hips up as we take the hands back down into our forward fold and step or jump back to find high plank. Exhale, lower for chaturanga. Inhale, lift up to find up dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, push back as we find our downward facing dog. Holding again, 3 deep breaths in your own time, working in through the nose and out through the mouth. Really spread those fingertips nice and wide. Try and push that chest back towards the front of the thighs. And in your own time, take your gaze towards the front of the room as you step or jump forward into our forward fold and inhale all the way back up to standing. We've got 1 more of these to go through. Inhale the hands up nice and high. Exhale, hands come all the way down into our forward fold. Inhale to half lift. Exhale, sit down into our chair pose. Hold it for 3, for 2, for 1. Release the hands down to the mat, straighten the legs. Exhale, step or jump back into our high plank. Exhale, lower for chaturanga. Inhale, press up to find up dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, push back as we find our downward facing dog. So again, holding here for just 3 breaths. And take your gaze towards the front of the room as we step or jump all the way forward into our forward fold and inhale all the way up to standing. So we're going to start working through just a series of quick sun salutations for adding in a crow pose. So we're not going to be doing the crow pose jumping into it. So this is the position we were looking at a little bit last week. So just to remind you, with our crow pose, we come down, we come onto the toes as much as we need to. We place the palms of our hands flat on the floor, and then we just place our knees into the backs of our elbow. Tuck the knees, tuck the elbows, form that little kind of shelf, and then just come up into that balanced position. And then we can just tip ourselves back all the way down. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down, we're going to try and find our crow position. We're going to hold there for about 5 or so seconds, and then we're going to try and extend the hips back into our high plank, and then we're going to work through a sun salutation and then come back into the crow, extend through, and we're going to go through that 3 times. Doesn't matter where you get to with the crow, it's a progression, it's something that we're going to try and work towards. So come down onto the mat, place those hands flat down, spread the fingertips nice and wide,
And then in your own time, just try and find yourself into that crow pose. It might be you just come in on your tiptoes, it might be your full crow, entirely up to you. So find that position, and we're holding for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Extend the legs back into high plank. Exhale, lower for chaturanga. Inhale, press up to find up dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, push back as we find our downward facing dog. And then we're just going to walk our feet, all the way to the front of the mat, back into forward fold. Inhale, lift yourself all the way up. Inhale, hands come all the way up to the ceiling. Exhale, hands come down to the mat. Reset your feet to find that crow pose. Just set yourself into the mat, into wherever you need to be. Spread the fingertips nice and wide. Bend the elbows, lift the hips, and crow pose. Holding for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Extend back to find high plank. Exhale, lower for chaturanga. Inhale, press up to find up dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, push back. Downward facing dog. And walk the feet, all the way up to the hands. Forward fold. Inhale all the way up to standing. We've got one more of those to go through. Inhale, the hands up nice and high. Exhale, hands come down onto the mat. Step the feet into a position where we can get into our crow. Fingers wide, bend the elbows, make that contact in the back of the elbows with the knees. It gives you that position to drive off of. Holding for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Hips come back, find high plank. Exhale, lower for chaturanga. Inhale, press up to find up dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, push back. Downward facing dog. Drop the knees. Send the hips back. Push the hips back. Find your child's pose. And just enjoy this stretch for a few deep breaths. So whilst you're sitting in your child's pose, I'll just explain what we're going to have a go at in just a moment. We're going to have a go at working through a couple of planche progressions. The planche progressions really focus on you developing some forearm mobility. And it is uncomfortable. So it's not going to do any real damage, but it is going to feel really awkward. We'll look at the progressions, you go with what's comfortable for you, and we'll take it from there. So lift yourself out of your child's pose and just find a tabletop position. So we're going to start in tabletop. I need my hands directly underneath my shoulders. I want my arms locked out. And we're going to start by just loosening off the elbows as much as we need to. So my first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my fingers out so they're pointing towards the edge of my mat. And from here, I'm just going to rotate my biceps towards the front. So I'm starting to get this movement through the forearms, into the biceps, into the wrists as well. Just going backwards and forwards, just trying to turn the front of my bicep all the way towards the front of the mat. I can also try and turn the bicep back towards me as well. And you're not going to get as much movement doing that. So we're just going to work backwards and forwards through this for a little bit, just to get a little bit more movement going on. And then in just a moment, when that's starting to feel kind of good, we're going to try and turn our fingertips in towards our knees. So my fingertips are now pointing towards my knees. I've got my forearms completely locked out. And then from here, I'm just going to sit my hips back ever so slightly. And straight away, that's going to put that stretch all the way up the front of my forearms. And it's going to feel really horrible. So I'm not going to do a big stretch here, just a gentle rocking motion, really trying to keep the palms flat on the floor as much as I can. So real gentle, backwards and forwards, just feeling that stretch. It's going to go through the forearms into the biceps. You might even find it in the front of your shoulders a little bit. And then we're just going to turn those hands back all the way around, sit back on our heels, come up, give the hands a good shake out, release the forearms off a little bit, so they're going to feel quite uncomfortable. So what we're going to look at doing is getting into our planche position. So to find the planche position, we're going to start by placing the palms flat on the floor, fingertips pointing towards me. And I'm just going to start by trying to walk my knees back as far as I feel comfortable with. And from this position here, that might well be enough. I'm going to keep taking the knees back, shuffling them ever so slightly until I feel like that's as much as I can handle. So from here, we're just going to push up through the palms of our hands, lift the gaze, take it up towards the ceiling. And we're just going to hold here for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Walk the knees a little bit further forward. Come back onto the heels, release the forearms, give them a little bit of a shake out. So that's our first position. We've got another 3 to try and work through. So we'll see how we get on with those. So in your own time, just turn it so that you've got your fingertips pointing back towards the knees. And this time we're going to try and step the knees back as far as we can, and then we're going to lift up onto our toes. So we're basically doing a plank, but this time we've got our fingertips pointing back towards us. I need to squeeze my glutes, I need to lift my hips, and we're going to hold here for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Release the knees back down, come back up onto the heels, give the forearms a nice shake out. So that is going to feel really uncomfortable, but like I said, it's working through the range of motion, and we're going to see how far we can go with this. It's also working really strong into your core, working into your shoulder mobility as well. So in your own time, take your fingertips to point back towards the knees, take the feet back or shuffle the knees back as far as you can, and then try and come up onto those tiptoes. Find that plank position. And then if we're feeling strong and feeling good, we can inhale to lift the left leg. And we're going to hold for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Keep the hands where they are. Take the left foot down, lift the right leg. Hold it for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Release the left leg, drop the knees, walk them forwards a little bit, and sit yourself back and up. Release those forearms, release the biceps. Give the shoulders a good straight shake out. So that is our kind of most advanced without actually being in the full planche. The thing with the full planche is that there's a straight arm planche and there's a bent arm planche. The bent arm is going to be a whole lot easier. So we're going to look at getting into the bent arm. Have a little play with that. If that's not working, we can go back to the straight arm and keep in contact with the ground with the toes. It's entirely up to you. So we're going to have a play with this one, and then we're going to go back into some leg work. So turn the hands, so we've got fingertips pointing back towards the knees. Lift yourself back, so we're in our high plank, and then I'm going to drop my elbows and tip forward. And I'm pushing my elbows into my hips, and I'm just going to hold here. So my toes are still in contact with the floor. And holding for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Drop the knees, lift yourself up, and release those forearms again. So the aim in that position there is to tuck those elbows really hard right into kind of the edge of the abdominal wall, and you're actually creating again that kind of shelf that's going to give you that stability. So if we're able to get into that position, we're going to go back there and hold it. If we want to, we can try and lift the toes off the floor as well and find a little bit of balance. That's our most advanced pose. So taking our hands, so I've got fingertips pointing back towards the knees. Walk the feet back until I'm in high plank. Drop the elbows, tip forward. Elbows come really tight into the abs. And then I'm going to try and fly. So I'm lifting up, driving my feet together, holding for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Exhale, feet come down, and sit back onto the heels. We're going to have one more go at that. So that is hard work. It's hard in the core, it's hard in the shoulders, and it also really quite uncomfortable through the forearms, but it's something we can work towards. Okay, final one of these. Again, just go into whatever position you feel like. The rest of the class, there's going to be no hand pressure, so you give the wrists a nice rest in just a moment. So final one of these, turn the fingertips back towards pointing at your knees. Step the feet back, find that high plank, and then tip yourself forward, tuck the elbows tight into the abdominal wall. And then maybe lift one foot off, maybe lift 2, and find that balanced position. And hold, and hold. And release down to the floor, tip yourself back, turn the hands around, take them to the front of the mat, sit back onto the heels, find your child's pose, and really enjoy that stretch. So in child's pose, we're going to sit the hips back down onto the heels, extend the hands out away from us, try and take the forehead down onto the mat, and enjoy that stretch. Okay, a few deep inhales, regain your posture, and then we're just going to walk ourselves up in just a moment until we're back standing at the front of the mat. Doesn't matter how you get there, be as elegant or inelegant as you like, and then we're going to start working through some leg stuff. Give the hands a decent shake out once forearms are a little bit warm. Okay, so take the feet to shoulder width apart. Inhale the hands up towards the ceiling. Exhale, hands come down in front of the body all the way down into our forward fold. And just step the legs back to find our high plank. Exhale, release the chaturanga. Inhale, push up to find up dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, push back, and we're in downward facing dog. So from here, we're going to inhale to lift the left leg all the way up towards the ceiling, and exhale, float that left foot as far forward as you can. Maybe step it a little bit further if you need to, and just set that right leg so we're in a strong position where we can lift ourselves up and find our lunging warrior. So from here, we're just going to hold for a few breaths, just working into that stretch. Hands can go on hips, chest up, looking straight in front of you. Sit down into that lunge as much as you feel able to. And then we're just going to inhale to drop that right heel and exhale to step the knee forward further. Turn the hips to the side and inhale, hands come out to the side as we find our warrior two. Holding here again for 3 deep breaths. Inhaling to lift the chest. Exhale, extend the hands. Inhale to lift the chest. Exhale to extend. Final one. Inhaling up. Exhale to extend. And then to release the hands, straighten out that left leg. Inhale the left hand up towards the ceiling as we exhale the right hand down towards the right knee as we find our peaceful warrior. So inhaling the hand up towards the ceiling. Exhale, take the left hand over towards the back of the room. Inhaling again to lift. And exhale to extend. Okay, release the left hand down, turn the hips towards the front of the room, and just place both of them flat on the mat as we step the left leg back to find high plank. Exhale, lower for chaturanga. Inhale, press up to find up dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, push back, downward facing dog. We're going to go through exactly the same on the right hand side. Inhale the right leg up towards the ceiling. Exhale, right leg comes to the front of the mat. Inhale, lift up to find our lunging warrior. Place hands on hips. Find your balance and just hold in here for a few deep breaths. Let that stretch get a little bit deeper. All we're doing at the moment is just working into the muscles, getting a little bit more movement going on before we get into the hard work. Okay, drop that left heel down flat onto the mat to 90 degrees. Extend that right knee forward a little bit more. Inhale, both hands come out to the side into our warrior two. Inhaling to lift the chest. Exhale to extend the fingers out. Inhale to lift the chest. Exhale and extend. Inhale to lift. Exhale to extend. Straighten out that right leg. Inhale the right hand up towards the ceiling. Exhale, left hand comes down towards the knee. Inhaling again to lift. Take that right hand back a little bit further. Really stretching down that right lat now. Inhaling to lift. Exhale to stretch. Final one. Inhaling all the way up. And exhale. Release both hands down towards the front of the mat as we step the right leg back to find our high plank. And exhale down for chaturanga. Inhale, lift up to find up dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, push back as we find our downward facing dog. Inhale the left leg up towards the ceiling. Exhale, left leg comes all the way to the front of the mat. And then just lift yourself up and turn both feet so they're facing towards the side of the mat. So we're in our wide pose here. From our wide pose, we're going to be working into a series of Cossack squats. So it's entirely up to you where you set your feet. You might want to change your foot position as we start working through this movement. So for me, I've got to come in a little bit more narrow than that. So it's entirely up to you as well. If you keep one heel flat on the floor, or if you change your position as you go through that, is what feels comfortable for you. So I'm going to work over onto my right hand side this time. So as I come down onto the right hand side, I'm going to reset my foot. I'm actually going to come up onto my toes because I want to get as deep as I can down here. I'm going to extend my left toes up towards the ceiling. I'm going to come all the way down so the back of my hamstring is in contact with my right calf. My calf mobility means I need to come on my toes to hold that position. And I'm going to be sat down here for 3, for 2, for 1. Drive that heel back into the floor, lift yourself up to come back to the middle, place that left foot down hard and transfer over onto the left hand side. So again, I'm coming onto my left toes and turning my right foot so that my right toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. And I'm sat all the way down, I've got contact between the hamstring and the left calf. You should feel that stretch all the way up the inside of the right leg here. But I'm also working into the left Achilles. And we're going to hold here for 3, for 2, for 1. Drive that left heel into the floor, lift yourself all the way back up to the middle. So we know where our range of movement is. We're now going to work a little bit harder with that. So I'm going to exhale to bend the right knee, sit down into that Cossack squat, all the way down onto the right hand side. Hold for 1, for 2, for 3, drive all the way back up to the middle. I'm coming back onto the right hand side there. Come down as far as we can. Holding for 3, for 2, for 1, drive all the way back up and set yourself back down. Holding for 3, for 2, for 1, drive all the way back up. Over onto the left-hand side now. Sit down onto the left, bend that knee, drop back down as far as we can, for 3, for 2, for 1, driving all the way back up. And exhale to release back down onto the left-hand side, for 3, for 2, for 1, driving all the way back up. Final one, exhale, lower down onto the left, for 3, for 2, for 1. Inhale all the way back up to the middle. So we're going to try and transition between our Cossacks this time. We're not going to come all the way up to the middle. We're going to kind of work from side to side. It's going to keep that tension in the muscle all the way through whilst working into the stretch. And it's going to be quite hard transferring between the heel and the toe. So exhale, come down onto that right hand side, find that foot position, sit down low, and then staying as low as you can, transfer all the way across, a bit of a kind of crab-like movement as we come over onto the left hand side. Fully extend and rotate that right leg, and then take ourselves all the way back again onto the right hand side. Extend and rotate the left leg, and transfer over onto the left, extend the right, transfer back onto the right. We're going back one more time, and send yourself all the way back over onto the left hand side. And inhale, lift all the way back up into the middle. Walk the feet in as much as you need to, give the legs a little bit of a shake off. So we should be really active in the quads and the glutes there. We should have got a nice range of movement, and that means we're now ready to work into our proper squats, our full horse position. So for horse, we want to imagine that we've got our little horse that's just turned up between our legs. Walk the feet out as far as you need to. It's not going to be our perfect kind of CrossFit style squat. We're going to be a lot wider. It's almost sumo squat style. And from here, we're still going to keep the weight very much in the heels. Inhale, take the hands up into heart center, and exhale, drop yourself down, just down to that 90 degrees. We can push the knees out to the side. I should still be able to see the toes, and we're trying to lift that chest as much as possible. So we're just going to sit here, hovering roughly at kind of seated height, holding for 3, for 2, for 1, and drive yourself all the way back up again. Inhale to lift the chest, exhale to drop yourself back down, and hold for 3, for 2, for 1, and drive all the way back up. We've got 3 more. Inhale to lift the chest, exhale to come down to the bottom, hold for 3, for 2, for 1, drive yourself back up again. 2 more. Inhale to lift, exhale to lower, holding for 3, for 2, for 1, driving all the way back up. Inhale, lift, and exhale, come back down, holding for 3, for 2, for 1, stand yourself all the way back up. So we're going to do one more version of this with a little bit more intensity, depending on how we're feeling. We can either keep the heels in contact with the floor, or we can lift ourselves up and come up as high as we can onto our tiptoes. So if we're staying on the tiptoes, it means the heels are not allowed to touch the floor at any point. So a bit of balance work as well. So high up on the toes, take the hands to heart center, and drop ourselves down into that squat, keeping the toes in contact with the floor, no heels, holding for 3, for 2, for 1, lifting up, heels still don't touch the floor, and exhale to lower, for 3, for 2, for 1, driving through the toes, locking out at the top, exhale to lower, for 3, for 2, for 1, driving up. 2 more of these, see if you can keep the heels off the floor the whole way, exhaling down, 3, 2, 1, driving up, final one, exhaling down, for 3, for 2, for 1, driving all the way up, drop the heels down, walk the feet in, release the hands, and give the legs a good shake out. So that's definitely our quads, worked fairly hard. We're going to have a go at just working a little bit into our hamstrings, find a little bit of hamstring work, and then we've got some very simple core bits to have a go at as well. So what we're going to have a go with on our hamstring work is also a little bit of balance and coordination. So to get into the position, we've got to go through sun salutation. So we're going to inhale our hands up towards the ceiling, exhale, release the hands down onto the mat, step back this time into high plank, exhale, lower chaturanga, inhale, press up to find up dog, tuck the toes, lift the hips, push back to find our downward facing dog. Inhale the left leg towards the ceiling, exhale, left leg comes to the front of the mat, might need to step it a little bit further forward. Inhale up to find our warrior 1, drop the right heel, turn the hips, extend the hands out to find warrior 2. Straighten the left leg, inhale the left hand up as we find our peaceful warrior. And then exhale, float both hands down onto the front of the mat, bend the left knee, turn that right leg in. So here I've got fingertips in contact with the mat. It might be your flat down palms. And then we're just going to take our weight into the left foot as we extend the right leg back. So I'm going to keep fingertips in contact with the floor here. Okay? And I want to try and straighten that left leg as much as I can. If that feels good, I can try and extend my hands out behind me to find aeroplane pose. And hold here for 3, for 2, for 1. Drop the fingertips down and just drop the right leg all the way forward. Inhale all the way up to standing. Inhale the hands up towards the ceiling. Exhale, hands come down onto the mat. Step all the way back into high plank. Exhale, lower for chaturanga. Inhale, lift up to find up dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, push back, downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg towards the ceiling. Exhale, right leg to the front of the room as we step up to find warrior 1. Drop the left heel. Extend the hands out to find warrior 2. Straighten the right leg. Extend the right hand up towards the ceiling to find our peaceful warrior pose. And then just float both hands down towards the front of the mat as we come down into our high lunge. Tip the weight into the right foot. Extend the left leg back. Come up onto the fingertips. Find our floating pose. And then if we're feeling good, extend the hands out behind us to find aeroplane. Try and dry and straighten. Whoops. Straighten that right leg as much as we can. For 3, for 2, for 1. Drop the hands down onto the mat. Extend the left foot to meet the right at the front into our forward fold. And roll all the way up the body into standing pose. So we're going to work into that position and just work back and forth from left leg onto right leg. So inhale, hands come up towards the ceiling. Exhale, hands come down onto the mat. Step back to find our high plank. Exhale, lower for chaturanga. Inhale, lift up to find up dog. Tuck the toes with the hips, push back, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg towards the ceiling. Exhale, left leg comes to the front. Tip that weight forward through the left leg. Extend the right leg back as we find our forward position. And then take those fingertips off of the mat. Hold it for 3, for 2, for 1. Take the fingertips down. Extend the right leg back. Inhale up to standing. Inhale, hands up towards the ceiling. Exhale, hands come down onto the mat. Step back to find high plank. Exhale, lower for chaturanga. Inhale, press up to find up dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, push back, downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg high. Exhale, right leg to the front of the mat. Tip the weight forward through the right leg, fingertips on the contact. Come off with the fingertips, extend the hands back. One-legged forward fold, hold in for 3, for 2, for 1. Fingertips come down, step the left leg forward. Inhale all the way up to standing. You're going to go through that on each side once more. Inhale, hands up nice and high. Exhale, hands come down into our forward fold. Step back to find high plank. Exhale, lower for chaturanga. Inhale, press up to find up dog. Touch your toes, lift your hips, downward facing dog. Inhale the left leg high. Exhale, left leg to the front of the mat. Tip the weight forward, extend the left leg. Find that one-legged forward fold. Inhale, hands come off of the mat. For 3, for 2, for 1. Fingertips back down, extend the right leg forward. Inhale all the way back up to standing. Final one of these. Inhale, hands come up towards the ceiling. Exhale, hands come down onto the mat. Step back to find high plank. Exhale, lower for chaturanga. Inhale, press up to find up dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, push back, downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg nice and high. Exhale, right leg to the front of the mat. Tip the weight forward, inhaling up to find our one-legged forward fold on the right leg. Take the fingertips away. Holding for 3, for 2, for 1. Step the left leg forward into our forward fold. Inhale all the way up to standing. Okay, walk the feet off, take a deep breath. It's quite a lot of hard work going on there. Okay, so from here, just step yourself back into the middle of the mat, come down into our tabletop pose. So from here, we're going to work into just a few very simple little core movements. They're all just static core, so it's just going to be holding it as much as you want, or maybe just having a look at some of these positions and seeing how you can play with them. So the first one we're going to have a look at is our dolphin pose. Now with dolphin, we want our hands down onto the mat, turn so you've got your palms facing towards each other, and they want to be exactly shoulder width apart. So it's pretty obvious where your forearm should be. if they're in line with the shoulders. We're then just going to turn our palms and place them flat on the floor, and that is where they're going to stay. So we want to spread the fingers nice and wide, but we're going to keep our forearms in that position. From there, we're just going to step our feet back and we're going to find that high plank pose. And we're actually going to feel much more activity through the tops of our back here, through the high part of our shoulders. And we're going to push through the elbows and be really strong through that upper back whilst also squeezing the core. And we're just holding here for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. And then just drop the knees down, take a little breath for a second. So that's our kind of go-to position. If that's enough for us, that's what we're going to stay with. If we want to add a little bit more intensity, then there's always the option to do that. So we're going to inhale to take the knees off of the floor, and we're just going to take ourselves forward and drop the chin down onto the floor, and then push ourselves back to find that high position. Inhale to lift, exhale to take ourselves down. Inhale to come back up. Exhale, take that chin forward. It's just going past the fingertips and driving back. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. 3 more. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. Final one. Exhale to lower. And inhale to lift. Drop the knees down. Try and keep those forearms in that same position if you're able to. So you should feel it's quite intense through the upper back, but obviously also into the core. Our dolphin position is also the starting pose for one of our kind of inversions. We're not going to get into the inversion. We're just going to have a little bit of a look at it, and it's an extension of our dolphin pose. So what we're going to do here is we're going to come onto the toes into our dolphin high plank, and then we're just going to start walking the toes towards the front of the mat, lifting the hips. Our head can't touch the floor. So for me, I don't get much further than this, and we're just going to hold here for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Drop the knees down. Relax for just a moment. We're going to go into that pose one more time. You should feel a lot of activity through the triceps in that position as well. Obviously, the more you walk the feet up towards the backs of the heels, the harder it is going to be. Okay. Take those toes back, lift up to find dolphin high plank, and start walking those toes in towards the heels. Keep it going. A little bit more. Hold there for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1, and drop the knees. Lift yourself up into a kneeling position, shake the hands out, get rid of that lactic, relax for just a moment. So we're going to finish with a very quick inversion, and then we've got our Savasana, which is going to last all of about 30 seconds, so that's as much rest as you need. So tip yourself round, come down so we're sat on the mat, and then lower yourself all the way down so we're flat lying down. Make sure the shoulders are flat on the floor, back of the head is in contact as well. And then just walk the heels all the way up to the back of your bum. So my knees are as bent as they can be. Place the palms of your hands flat on the floor. And just inhale to lift the feet off and start lifting the legs up towards the ceiling. When you've got as high as you can in that position, just push through the palms of your hands to roll up onto the backs of your shoulders. And then place the hands into the small of the lower back. So my palms are supporting either side of my spine erector muscles. And my toes are pointing up towards the top of the ceiling. And now I'm in my shoulder stand. My elbows are in contact with the floor here. And I should be able to relax. So all the blood is now rushing down through the legs, up into my upper body. Loads of oxygenated blood coming into the brain. And just focus on that breath. Deep inhales. And really controlled exhales. If you're feeling good, we can take the knees down towards the forehead, extend the feet back to find our cloud pose, and just feel that stretch through the lower back, really decompressing that spine. Or we can just keep our feet all the way up straight, whatever feels good for you. Holding for a little bit longer. Okay, take this feet all the way back up, so we're pointing up towards the ceiling. And then just drop the knees slowly down towards the forehead. Take the hands down flat onto the floor as we release the lower back onto the mat and allow our feet to drop all the way down. Let the knees slide out from side to side like our windscreen wipers. Really enjoy that movement through the lower back. Keeping our head flat on the floor, Just staying really nice and relaxed in this position. And then in your own time, just allow your feet to extend all the way out in front of you until they're completely flat. Take your hands either side of the body, allow the palms of your hands to just relax into whatever position feels comfortable. And just pause for a moment. So that's a really hard session there. We've gone through a whole load of poses, done a lot of work. It's really, really warm, really, really humid at the moment. I've definitely been sweating a lot. So just pause here, lying on your back, enjoy that breath. In through the nose, and out through the mouth. Just releasing as you do so. Okay, so in your own time, just start to tuck the knees up towards the chest. Take the hands around the front of the shins. Tuck the knees in as tight as you can. And just start getting that gentle rocking motion. A little bit of side to side as well, just massaging into the lower back. And then slowly start to build up the momentum of that rocking until you roll yourself all the way back up to seated. And then once you're there, just take your legs, find that cross-legged pose if that feels good. If you need your legs out in front of you or wherever else, that's absolutely fine. And we'll just finish with 3 really deep breaths. So bring yourself into your cross-legged, relax the shoulders. Inhale, hands come up towards the ceiling. And exhale, release the hands all the way down through the heart center. Inhale, hands come up all the way towards the ceiling one more time. And release. And then final one. Inhale, hands, little stretch. And exhale to release there. Cool. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that.